Hi guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Logitech MX518. Now this is the new model, not the one that's been around for literally decades. Logitech decided this year to relaunch the 518 by integrating a new sort of design, a more glossier design, as you can see me in the background waving, and also integrating their Hero 16K flawless sensor inside. Now the mouse can be found between around £50 to £55 in the UK and in the US. It's going to be same sort of price around the world as well. Now the design of it is really what was its legendary factor behind it. There was no other real mouse out there at the time, a long time ago shall we say, that had this sort of form factor that really just fits like a glove in your hands. But since then we've seen a lot of mice come out. Ones that you can see on your left, for example, are just examples from 3 manufacturers, including Logitech themselves, where you've got like the G403, which has a perfect sort of form factor now. They kind of all stemmed from this 518, and the 518 really set out the precedent for having a great ergonomic mouse. But now, in 2019, is this thing actually worth getting, or is it just purely nostalgia? Well, let's talk about the build quality first. The cable connects via a USB. It's got a rubberized cable. It's relatively thin. If you compare it to the Rival 310, you can see potentially that the thickness is a little bit thinner. That's not a bad thing because it doesn't attract a lot of drag on a mouse pad. However, it's not going to be as good as a braided one, specifically a thinner braided one such as from Rocat over here, which just really doesn't have any sort of drag whatsoever. It just kind of smoothly goes over any sort of mouse pad or a surface. So it's worth bearing in mind that that is the case, and it's also a non-removable cable. So again, if you do want to remove the cable, you're not going to be able to do so. There's no adjustable weights, which you will notice like on the G403, you do have adjustable weights, which can be a certain a bugbear for certain people now buying it in 2019. Another thing is the actual weight of the mouse is 101 grams, which is relatively heavy. It's not on the super heavy side, neither is on the super light side. It kind of sits on the medium to heavy side. It's worth bearing in mind that Logitech have tried to preserve that weight coming from the original 518, and that's pretty much the logic behind it. So if you've ever tried the original, you will like the terms of weight and the feel that you get with this new mouse. In terms of button placements, you've got essentially the exact same button placements as you did with the original. It's very much the same sort of soft, bubble looking type of buttons that you got before, rather than like an aggressive gamer type of look that you might get, or ones which are more traditional buttons nowadays that you get on other mice. Now the buttons themselves can be fully configured via the Logitech G Hub, which quite frankly I do not like at all using the G Hub, but anyway, that's for another point. But the buttons themselves can be fully configured to whatever you want, and the fact that you've got 1, 2 on the left and 3 at the top, other than the normal left and right click and the mouse wheel button, means that you've got quite a nice array of buttons to configure there. There's no buttons on the right hand side, and it's very much a right-handed mouse, so left-handed users might find this a little bit uncomfortable to use because of its form factor. It's not an ambidextrous mouse, let's put it that way. Now in terms of the actual feel of the mouse, you've got rubberized sides around the side over here. You've got a really nice little groove over here which makes you feel like your thumb kind of just sits and slots into place really well, therefore preserving that really nice ergonomic feel. And on the right hand side, your hand kind of wraps around the side. I'd say this would be really comfortable for people using a fingertip or palm tip grip, so like this or like that. If you're claw gripping, I don't think you'll find it as comfortable. However, your mileage may vary depending on your hand size. To give you an example, my hand size from the top to the bottom is around 18 to 18.5 centimeters. Just worth bearing in mind that this is how it looks like in my hand. Now, I'll just go quiet now and just do some clicking so you guys can actually hear how it actually sounds. So there we go, a little sound demo for you guys, and vigorously kind of twisting it left and right. The reason behind that is just to hear if there's any sort of noise, because some people do ask that with the wheel. So no, there isn't, and in terms of clicking, it's quite interesting to hear that the left and right click sound a little bit different from each other. Hopefully my camera was able to pick that out. Now when you compare its clicking and its feel of it, it does feel a little less, not to say accurate, but it does feel a little bit different from your regular gaming mouse. So if I just click on the left click for all of these ones, so just to hear, it feels just a little bit more clicky. It feels more of a multimedia mouse that you would hear rather than a gaming mouse. It's very hard to explain, but again, this is all subjective. I'm just trying to share you my experiences. The thing I really don't like about this mouse is the fact that it's scroll wheel. The scroll wheel is very much the absolutely identical one that you found on the original. The problem is nowadays this scroll wheel does really feel like those really cheap Microsoft or Dell mice that you get, you know, if you go into any office and they've got this really rubberized, I don't know how to say it in a nice way, but it's really crappy feeling scroll wheel. If you compare it to its competitors or even Logitech themselves, these scroll wheels feel a lot nicer, a lot smoother. They're ribbed. They feel just, I don't know, more responsive even. They just don't feel cheap and rubberized. So I'm not really a fan of that, but again, fans of the MX518 won't care about that because they really want as close as possible to the original. Other than that, the logo itself doesn't illuminate, there's no RGB controls, and I really don't care about RGB controls on a mouse. In fact, I disable it on any mouse I have, but nevertheless, it is one further thing that you don't have. Also, in terms of design, you no longer have this kind of bullet shot type of design. It's kind of a clean, glossy design, which is very like, you know, you can see reflections. Now, this is not a bad thing in terms of design. I think it's quite modern, it looks nice, but if you've got sweaty palms like myself, what you'll find is that it does feel like it slips a little bit. It doesn't have that sort of grip. Whilst these other mice have this different type of coating on them, which means that you don't feel like your hand is going to slip away from the mouse. So it's just worth bearing in mind that, again, Logitech have tried to preserve it, but now in modern day times, in my personal opinion, it doesn't really kind of match up to its competitors or even its own siblings. Now, in terms of performance, what do you get? Well, you got the Hero 16K sensor. It goes up to 16,000 DPI, which is a hella ton more than the original, which went up to 1,800 if I'm not mistaken. The sensor itself that's housed inside is a flawless sensor that has perfect one-to-one tracking, be it left and right, up and down, in terms of slamming it down, moving around. The lift-off distance, I heard some people had problems. I didn't have any problems when I was testing it myself. No problems in terms of lift-off distance, no different or dissimilar from the rest of its competitors. And in terms of its clicking as well, the switches feel really nice and they feel like they respond very well. It's got a 1000 Hertz polling rate and it's got a 32-bit ARM microprocessor that's also built in for storing your profiles or your button layouts when you were to unplug it or to switch off your PC. So in other words, the mouse basically in terms of performance wise is absolutely faultless. It's very much up to recent standards. It's very good for all types of games, be it CSGO like I play, or Destiny 2, or you know, other games such as MOBAs or whatever have you. And of course for multimedia browsing, it's going to be absolutely fine. You don't really need a performance mouse there, but it's worth bearing in mind. So what do I think about this mouse? Well, the thing which really gets me is the fact that it's 50 odd pounds, and at that price you can literally buy any of its competitors, which to me offer more features, better build quality or better design in terms of build quality, different type of ergonomics which have kind of updated with the times, and also the same sort of performance. So at which point really you should be considering the MX518 if you really do love that old school design and you really don't want to be changing a mouse. This is really the ergonomic dream more than anything. It's not really a mouse that you should really be shouting about. It's more of a mouse that, hey, I really like the original and I kind of want the same one and the same feel. I don't want to buy any other mouse because I don't like them, and therefore I just want something that performs great but has the same ergonomics. And I don't really care about paying a little bit of a premium for that. And that, my friends, is the MX518. And before I go, I'm just going to really quickly show you the software because it's worth bearing in mind. The G Hub itself provides you all set of options that you might expect from any modern day mouse. As you can see over here, you can set the assignment of the buttons. You can have certain actions or things that would open, set macros, and also adjust the sensitivity with 5 different levels of DPI. So that's pretty much it with the G Hub and actually the review of the MX518. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of this legendary mouse, so to speak. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I would avoid it in terms of what you get out there, but I do understand that if you really love this form factor, then there's no other thing that you should consider than this mouse. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye-bye.